Hello, I'm David Burton with the University of Missouri Extension. The holiday season is here, and people have wish lists that are getting long, or in some cases, maybe wish lists that are very short because you don't know what to get someone, whether it's a family member or a coworker or even a neighbor. Let me recommend getting a book on the topic of neighboring, and there's a lot to pick from. I'm going to share with you just some of my favorites from reading this past year. And I'm going to start with In the Neighborhood by Peter Lovenheim. He's actually going to be speaking at our February 2022 or 23 class of Neighboring 101. But this is a great class. It's a great book. An individual who tragedy struck in their neighborhood, and he realized he did not know his neighbors the way he should. And he set out to change that. It's well written. It's a moving piece, really worth your time. If you're in the Springfield area, I might also suggest Discovering Your Gifts. It's written by Don Everts. He lives here in Springfield. This idea of discovering not only your gifts, but the gifts of your neighbors so that you can work together at the very best level, achieving things for your neighborhood by using each other's gifts or taking advantage of the gifts that you have. This is a great piece. It's very practical. It also comes with a workbook that you can go through and learn more about your gifts as well as the gifts of your neighbors. And again, Don Everts of Springfield, Missouri is the author of that. Here's another one with a Missouri connection, the Hopeful Neighborhood Field Guide. This organization is in St. Louis. This is a really practical guide. This would work great as a book study, maybe among friends, coworkers, or people in the same neighborhood. Going through this book, mapping out your neighborhood, looking at the assets of your neighborhood, coming up with ideas on how to work together for a common good. That's the theme of this book. It's a very practical read. It's great, has great question and answer sessions involved in it, and it is a asset-based community development approach to improving your neighborhood. So I would highly recommend that. Another Missouri connection, Chris and Elizabeth McKinney's book, Placed for a Purpose. This is a faith-based book, and it builds upon the idea that where you live is not an accident. You have a purpose in being there, and also a Missouri connection book on neighboring. For those who may say they're introverts, I'll suggest starting with Hello. It's chock full of practical steps and suggestions on how to build relationships with your neighbors, and it is very introvert friendly if that's your background. A classic by Ray Oldenburg. Ray Oldenburg came up with the idea of third places. Your home is your first place, your work is your second place. Then we all need and depend upon third places where we can gather at a neutral atmosphere, at a level atmosphere with other individuals. Sometimes it's a coffee shop or a VFW hall, a church, a library. Third places. Think of Cheers, the television show, the bar. That was an example of a third place where everybody knew your name and where people gathered. So Oldenburg outlined that idea of a third place, and this is his follow-up book with very warm, heartfelt examples of third places that are really working well and impacting a community. So Celebrating the Third Place, also a great book. Again, a practical guide. This one focuses on the topic of hospitality and how that relates to the idea of neighboring. It's by Dustin Willis. The simplest way to change the world. The simplest way to change the world is by being hospitable. And that may not mean what you think it means. So, a great book on hospitality. I would highly recommend that. At least two more here. The Connected Community. This is by John McKnight. He's the co-author of it with Cormac Russell. John McKnight is the founder of Asset-Based Community Development. This really, in a lot of ways, is very similar to his older book, Abundant Communities. but it is a little more neighborhood focused. Connected Communities. Highly recommend that as well. Well, again, there's lots of other books here to pick from. Better Together by Robert Putman. That's his sequel to Bowling Alone. And then other books here, even some that include recipes and things you can put into practice and make use of. Lots of available resources. If you want to know more, I'll put a list in my comment section on this video that you can click on and see my extensive resource list on neighboring books. And as always, feel free to reach out for me if you want to know more about how to become an engaged neighbor or the impact that can have on your neighborhood. Thank you and happy shopping.